Hello everyone and welcome back to episode number 16 of TamsCraftyKnits. Today is the 4th of October 2016. It is Tuesday. Normally I would podcast on a Wednesday, however I'm working tomorrow so I'm recording it today. So I have quite a bit to chat about. Some things that I'm working on, things that I will hopefully be working on soon, and an Etsy shop to chat about. So before I kind of get into it, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has checked in and asked if we were okay. There's some major flooding happening around the area where I live at the moment. We are actually fine. The photos that I included at the end of one of my recent podcasts, it's the same areas that are flooding. The issue is that now that we've had so much rain, all the reservoirs are over capacity or almost at capacity, so there's not a lot of wriggle room and the water's got to go somewhere. I was supposed to attend class today and yesterday and I didn't end up going. I had heard that the road that I take, apparently it was fine to go through there, but they still had some of the road closed signs up, so I just thought, stop it, I'm not going to go. And with the unpredictability of the rain, it's better to be at home than going, 40 k's away and being like, oh crap, I can't get back. And given that I'm working tomorrow, it's probably not a good idea. So I have had a bit of extra time to work on things, but yes, thank you to everyone who asked. We are fine. We live in town and our town is kind of up on a hill a bit, so we're fine. And it's the surrounding towns that have copped it. So yeah, it's actually raining again now. And I don't know how much we're meant to get. We did get a little bit last night. I don't know if it was the amount that they were expecting, but we did get a little bit last night, and kind of had a bit off and on during today as well. So yeah. So yes, thank you to everybody. We are totally fine. My work is like very, very close to my house, so it won't be an issue for tomorrow or the rest of the week. So I guess I will show you the main project that I've been working on, and that has been the blanket for the order. This is the Sunshine blanket. It has both written instructions and charted instructions. I find the charted instructions easier to follow than the written ones for some reason. I don't know. Whereas in knitting, I follow written instructions versus charted. So I finished off the square that I was working on last time. And I've also I don't think had I started this one? I can't remember. So I finished that one. It's kind of a bit wonky, just as in it's not dead straight, just because of the crochet, but once it's all put together I'm sure it'll be fine. Then where's the other one that I'm working on? Here it is. And I've only got maybe 6 rows left on this bit, and this is going to spell out the word you. Oops. So it's the start of the Y here, the O, and then the U. So I was a little bit worried. I was like, oh, I don't know if these are gonna be, you know, the words are going to be around the right way, and I don't know if for some reason I was worried about it, but yeah, it's going to work out fine. So that's the last one of this colour. Then I'll be moving on to another colour, because I'm doing each colour as I go. So I do all the ones in this colour, then move on to the pink, the white, and then the yellow. So that it's easy to do, it's just more time consuming than I had actually imagined. And yes, given that I have taken a bit of a break over a couple of months on it, that's why it's taking a bit longer, but I spent a good amount of time on that recently, even though I don't feel like I have much to show for it. But yeah, it's just taking a bit longer than expected, but I will be working on it this afternoon as well. Another project, and that isn't a Knit and Stitch Bits bag. This is another Knit and Stitch Bits bag, and this has my Barley Hat knit. It is a free pattern by TamsCraftyKnits. I've done a little bit more on this since I last showed you it. I'm kind of in the middle of the pearl sections here. This is in Madeline Tosh DK in the Shoemaker colorway. I don't believe that they make this color anymore. And of course I'm using my trusty Chagoos. I love them. I definitely want to get myself an interchangeable set eventually. So yeah, I've been doing a little bit on that, just kind of a couple of rows here and there. And the same thing with the next project. I have not touched the shawls that I've been working on at all. I actually don't think I'm going to get my Kalara shawl finished for the Stash and Notions cowl, the Transitions cowl that Penelope is hosting. Yeah, I just don't think that I'm gonna get it finished. I think, and I mentioned this, I think I mentioned on Instagram to someone, I have so many projects going. I have the blanket, I have these 2 hats, I have 2 shawls. Like, maybe I just need to be a monogamous knitter crocheter. Like, have one crochet project, one knitting project, and that be it at a time. So I can just have one from each yarn craft and be it. Instead of having all these different ones. But anyway, it's really not how you're meant to knit when you knit monogamously. It's just meant to be one project, but I figure one from each is probably good enough. In my Creative Garage single garage bag, I think quite a few people have this bag, it's really pretty, is the, I thought I had almost lost stitches then. Please tell me that I didn't, because that would be a nightmare to pick back up. Oh, something funny's going on here. Ah, it's okay. My needle just jabbed into a bunch of other stitches, it's all good. So I have done a few rows, as you can see, not many. I think I've done about 4. I just picked this up the other night when I was watching Mina, who is the knitting expat. I was watching her latest episode. I've said this before, this is not my favourite yarn from the Bendigo Wool Mills. It's their sock yarn. It's 75% merino, 25% nylon. I don't know if it's just this batch or just this yarn in general, but I'm not a big fan of it. So yeah, but I like how the pattern turns out. So yeah, I've done a little bit on that, but again, not much at all. Oh, actually no, that is I just fibbed to you about the shawl situation. I did actually get out my Anissa wrap that I'm making for my aunt the other night. Yeah, I got it out and I thought, you know, I might do, you know, a little bit of work on this. give myself a break from the crochet blanket for, you know, a minute, then I can come back to it. You really shouldn't do those kinds of things at, you know, 10:30 at night, because I dropped a bunch of stitches. I mean, I was only in, I'd just done the setup row and maybe half of the first kind of section, so I dropped a bunch of stitches and I could not for the life of me get them back, so it was frogged and started again. And I'm only like 2 rows in now. She might get it for Christmas, or she might get it by next winter. Actually, next winter is probably a better bet. She's likely to get it then. So, moving on to a future cast on. Now this is, I was thinking about casting it on now, but I think I'm going to wait until I have finished a few other projects, but it is the yarn and the needles that I'm going to use for it are living in this bag. I made this one myself. It's probably a bit big for this project for now, but it'll do. I have my size 8 5mm chai gurus. These are on an 80cm or 32-inch cable. I only use the lace ones. I love them ones. And in here is this beautifulness. This yarn was actually custom dyed for me by Kelly, who is Miss Click Clack. Beautiful yarn. She had it, I think I'm going to reskein these because they're kind of annoying. She had this yarn in her Etsy shop and it was in a fingering weight, and I messaged her and I was like, do you happen to have that in a DK? And she was like, no, but if you like I can try and dye it up. And you know, no pressure to buy it if you don't like it when it's dyed up. I'll just chuck it in the shop. But I loved it. And the colourway is called, this colourway is called You're Not the Boss of Me, which is perfect for me. I'm always telling people to stop telling me what to do, in a joking, sarcastic way, but some people take it seriously. So I have two cakes of that. They're both caked up, but I'm going to recake them because this is my old yarn winder. And there is 437 yards between the two cakes. So that yarn is going to be for when my iPad decides to cooperate with me. There's so much on there, I'm surprised it hasn't said no more, you are out of space. We don't really need to be looking at the early years learning framework for early childhood. I don't really think that's gonna work. You tell I was doing school stuff. It is for the Strata shawl, and I believe I showed this to you guys last time. This is by Shara, who posts on the What Shara Made podcast. And there is going to be the perfect amount between those two skeins for this shawl. So I just like that it has all the different textures and things in it. And there's a few things that I haven't done before, so I like to kind of do patterns where I can learn something new. So that is kind of coming up later. Also, I wanted to quickly chat a little bit about a cowl that I am planning. Now, Amber does knitting patterns, Amber O'Brien. She's an Australian designer. She's actually a local designer to me. And her patterns are knitting patterns. So if you crochet, it's probably not going to be the cowl for you, but I thought I would mention it because we have been having a little bit of a chatter about it in the TamsCraftyKnits Ravelry group. If you're not a member, then search for us on Ravelry in the groups tab. You'll find us. And I have been thinking about it, and I think we will make it a shawl cowl. Amber has some other patterns as well, but I think there's enough variety in her shawl patterns that we'll be able to have a few different ones, you know, for the cowl. I'm leaving it totally open for you guys to choose whatever pattern you like. There's actually a few of her patterns that I have not done yet. And since it's coming up to the holidays, we're kind of discussing that it'd probably be better to do this kind of like the first week of January, have that be like cast on week for the cowl, and have it go for, I think, at least 3 months. And I say that because, you know, sometimes things come up in life, and you know, let's face it, it took me 2 months to knit my Anissa wrap, so I think 3 months is, you know, a generous amount of time. I mean, obviously if you're an incredibly fast knitter and you get it done before then feel free to cast on, you know, another one if you so wish. But I think that'll be a nice amount of time to get one finished. So that's kind of what we're thinking about, and I've been chatting to a few members in the group, and quite a few of you have said you have some shawl patterns from Amber that you've been wanting to knit, so I thought it would be fun to do a knit along. I'm hoping to go to Melbourne kind of soon, and there's a couple of yarn shops that I want to go to, so I think I will pick up some things for prizes as well. And I'm sure Amber will have been, you know, releasing more patterns by then as well, so I'm sure maybe we'll have a first prize and a second prize, so yeah, I'll kind of work that out and when it's a bit closer, but I thought I would mention it in this video because we have been talking about it recently in the group. Next, I have 2 patterns. This is going to be the only thing in acquisitions. I think I mentioned it. I'm kind of slowing down on buying yarn because, let's face it, I really don't need any more. And you can't even, that's not even all of it. Like, it's not. And there is some more like in here, but it's like acrylic stuff. And I have some on my desk, which is behind the camera. Don't get me wrong, I love buying yarn. Everyone loves buying yarn. It's fun, and you get to try new yarn dyes and things. But I really want to use up what I have. I do want to acquire some hedgehog fibres yarn. There is a couple of sellers that I know of here in Australia. I think the store is called Yarn & Co. In Melbourne. I believe they sell hedgehog. You can also get it from the Convent Chapel online store. They actually have a physical store as well, but they do have an online store. And I was so annoyed, I think I mentioned it before, because the Monet colorway, so pretty, and I love art, and I wanted one skein, and it was there and it was available and I was gonna get it, and then I hummed and hawed about it, and you know what happens when you hum and haw about things? They're gone like that, and it was sold out, and I was just devastated. There was someone in the US that was selling their skein of it on Ravelry, but they wanted $29 for it plus shipping, and that would be more than what I can get it for in Australia. But I believe both those stores have sold out of it, unfortunately. So I don't know how the hedgehog fibres really work, whether they get new stock in or they dye up new stock periodically, or they have different yarn lines. I'm not familiar with Hedgehog Fibers as a brand, so I'm not quite sure. If anyone knows, please leave info in the comment section on here or in the episode thread on Ravelry, because I would love to know a bit more about it. Or if anyone knows where I can get a skein of that Hedgehog Fibers Monet colorway, I would greatly appreciate it. Or if anyone out there has a skein in their stash that you want to part with, let me know. But yeah, where was I going with that? Oh yes, patterns. Totally off track. I picked up 2 patterns this past week. Betsy did have a discount code for these. Unfortunately, that has now expired. And I will put in the show notes the prices of these patterns if you want to go and pick them up. She did speak about these in her latest episode, which I will have linked in the show notes as well. This is the anchored shawl. You probably won't be able to see it on here. It's not going to do it justice. You can see all the mess in the background there. But there is a really great story. It's not great, but there's a good message behind the reason for the anchor. And I'm not going to go into it, but if you want to know what that's all about, then I will put a link, as I said, to Betsy's podcast where she announces these. And this is the It Is Well cowl. I probably will make the cowl eventually as well. I am a little bit nervous, shall we say, about the shawl, because again, there is techniques in here that I have not done before. And I was reading through the pattern, and there's talk of a cable needle, which I have never ever done cables. I've looked at them, they're very pretty, but I've never ever attempted them before, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. But I'm sure once I get into it and work it out, it will be fine. Oh, here's a better look at it, and I just think it's really, really pretty. So definitely go and have a look at those. And if you're not subscribed to Betsy, then you should be. She hosts the Quill Pin and Quips podcast here on YouTube. I believe she also has a Ravelry group as well, and she has quite a number of designs on Ravelry as well if you're interested. Before I go, I'm also going to chat about an Etsy store. I mentioned Nicole's yarns, I believe it was last podcast, and guess what? The irony is that was when we weren't sure if it was going to get through because it was flooding then too. Anyway, you will remember me talking about the Cola Girl Collective yarn. Well, Nicole has now set up her Etsy store, so it is Cola Girl Collective AU. I will have it linked in the show notes. She did have skeins of this colorway, which is animal, but I noticed someone actually purchased them, so I'm sure it will be in her shop again at some stage. I have caked up one of the skeins, and I have the other one here just so you can kind of see what it looks like caked up and not caked up. This is her Walker sock, which is a fingering weight yarn. It is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. There is 425 meters per 100 grams, which is 464 yards. So initially I was thinking about making a shawl. If I seem to be moving around, it's because I'm sitting on my feet and they've gone numb. So yeah, I was thinking about doing a shawl, but I think I'm going to reserve this skein to add to a shawl with some other colours at some stage. I don't know what, but I'm just going to kind of stash that for now. So that's going to be in a shawl, and I want to save this skein for a pair of socks. I think that would be awesome. And you're probably thinking, but I thought you said you weren't casting on anything else. I am going to, once I finish one of my projects that I have on the go now, I'm going to attempt to cast on another pair of socks. I do have the Smooth Operator sock pattern by Susan B. Anderson, so I've been having a bit of a look through there, and I think that will be really helpful. So I don't think I'm going to use this skein from Nicole straight away. I do have a few other skeins of sock yarn that I'm more willing to use. I don't know about you guys, maybe it's just me, it's probably just me. If you have really pretty sock yarn or expensive hand-dyed yarn, do you just go ahead and use it, or do you save it for that really special project, or do you buy it with a project in mind, or you're just like me and a little bit hesitant to use it because with some of them, when you use it, it's gone, like that's it. If it's like limited edition or one of a kind, it's kind of like me with my Gilmore Girls yarns, which are up all the way up there. I haven't really used them yet. I was going to start a blanket with them, and I'm like, no way. So I just have them sitting up there waiting for a project. So I'd love to hear what you guys are like with your hand-dyed yarns. If you purchase hand-dyed yarns, do you use them up, or do you save them for a special project? I have quite a bit of hand-dyed yarn kind of stashed in there amongst the other bits and pieces. I don't know, I prefer hand-dyed yarns over like especially like indie dyers over dyers kind of like Hedgehog, you know, those kind of bigger yarn companies, I guess you could say. But yeah, I would love to hear what you guys think. I might actually start a thread in the Ravelry group. I think that would be kind of fun. So you can go check on there. That'll be up when this podcast is up, along with the show notes for this episode. So I'm going to go because I actually can't feel my feet now. And I hate that feeling when your feet go numb and then you try and, as they're unnumbing, it says me right for sitting on my own feet. Anyway, I'm going to stop blabbing on. I'm going to go edit and upload this before any more storms come through and affect our internet again. I'm sure it probably has more to do with Telstra than the actual storms, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you're currently working on, or come and chat with us in the Ravelry group, or follow me on Instagram, Snapchat and Facebook. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.